Hello, let's go.
Tesla just got hit hard. Canada has officially frozen over $43 million in rebates and barred Tesla from future EV incentive programs. Why? Because of a trade war. But this isn't just about cars or politics, it's about Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and the unraveling of a once-strong US-Canada relationship. At first glance, this may look like a story about a few missing rebates. But under the surface, it's a microcosm of something much bigger: power, pride, and politics colliding with business, technology, and national identity. It's a dramatic case study in how one man's influence, one company's dominance, and one country's retaliation can disrupt global markets, affect consumer choices, and threaten environmental goals all at once. It all began with Donald Trump's return to the White House. Known for his aggressive stance on trade during his first term, Trump wasted no time in reigniting his economic battles. In early 2025, the administration announced new sweeping tariffs, 25% duties on Canadian and Mexican imports. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney immediately called the move economically aggressive and politically destabilizing. But this time, Canada wasn't going to just negotiate behind closed doors. No, the response was swift and fierce: over $30 billion in retaliatory tariffs targeting American exports. But beyond that, Canadian leadership realized they needed something symbolic, something that would send a message not just to the US government, but to its corporate power players as well. That's where Elon Musk comes in. Now an official advisor to President Trump, Musk is not just the CEO of Tesla, he's also a visible face of the Trump administration's push for deregulation and budget cuts. And for many Canadians, this connection transformed Tesla from a symbol of innovation into a symbol of political opposition. Then came the infamous tweet, "Canada is not a real country." Whether Musk meant it as a joke or a jab, the reaction was immediate and intense. Canadian news outlets, politicians, and citizens reacted with anger and disbelief. Protests erupted. Tens of thousands signed petitions demanding the Canadian government revoke Musk's citizenship. It wasn't just about the tweet, it was about what it represented: a dismissive attitude from someone with real power and influence. So when reports surfaced that Tesla dealerships had submitted thousands of last-minute rebate claims, more than 5,800 in a single day, red flags went up. One dealership in Quebec claimed over $19 million in rebates over a weekend. Industry insiders immediately questioned how such numbers were even logistically possible. And as the data came out, it became clear Tesla may have been flooding the system to capture as much of Canada's EV funding as possible before the program expired. Minister Chrystia Freeland took action. With an election looming and pressure mounting, she froze all federal EV rebates linked to Tesla. Not only would the company receive nothing more from the federal program, but all previously submitted claims would be subjected to detailed audits. Tesla, the company that had received the most public EV funds in Canadian history, over $713 million, was now cut off. But it didn't stop there. Provinces across Canada joined in. Nova Scotia voted unanimously to remove Tesla from its EV rebate list. British Columbia, Manitoba, and Prince Edward Island followed. In Toronto, Tesla was removed from the list of approved electric taxis. In Ontario, a massive Starlink broadband deal was suspended. The message was clear: Musk's companies were no longer welcome to benefit from Canadian taxpayers. For Tesla, the consequences were immediate. Canadian sales nosedived. Reports indicate a drop of over 70% within weeks of the rebate freeze. For a company that relies on volume and market share, that kind of decline in a G7 country isn't just a setback, it's a warning sign. And for consumers, this meant something very real: higher prices. A Canadian buyer looking at a Model Y lost access to up to $12,000 in combined federal and provincial rebates. For many, that difference changed the buying decision altogether. EVs from Ford, Hyundai, Volkswagen, and others that still qualified for rebates suddenly looked a lot more attractive. But the implications go far beyond individual car sales. This story has become about something larger: how governments are learning to weaponize economic policy. Incentive programs, once thought of as tools to support innovation, are now tools of diplomatic leverage. Canada didn't just strike back at the US. It chose its target carefully: Tesla, and hit where it hurt most: access to public money. Why Tesla? Because unlike other automakers, Tesla represents more than just a car. It represents a movement. It's the crown jewel of the American tech industry's EV revolution. And it's inseparable from Elon Musk himself. Tesla is Musk, and Musk is Tesla. So when Musk supports Trump, mocks Canada, and benefits disproportionately from its public programs, he becomes the ideal figure for political pushback. And here's the twist, Tesla's rebate freeze is only the beginning. Industry insiders believe that if trade talks continue to deteriorate, other Musk companies could be next. SpaceX has satellite contracts in development with Canadian research institutions. Starlink provides rural internet access across vast parts of the country. Even Neuralink has clinical trial partners in Canada. All of this is now at risk. Internationally, Tesla's troubles in Canada echo other challenges. In Europe, Musk is facing regulatory crackdowns, protests, and public skepticism. In China, the company faces a growing wave of domestic EV competition and increasing scrutiny from state media. Tesla, once untouchable, is now under pressure from all sides. This raises a bigger question: should CEOs become political figures? Should someone like Musk, whose companies shape energy, transport, and communication, be this involved in government? His move into the Trump administration may have granted him influence, but it also exposed him and his businesses to geopolitical risk. What happens in Canada today could happen in France tomorrow, or Australia, or Japan. Let's talk investors. Tesla stock has been volatile for years, but this new chapter introduces a new kind of risk: political backlash. Institutional investors are now analyzing how much of Tesla's global business depends on goodwill from foreign governments. The Canadian example shows how quickly that goodwill can vanish. And there's the irony: Tesla, a company built on the idea of disrupting the status quo, is now being disrupted by it. The disruptor has become the disrupted. And Elon Musk, the man who said he doesn't care about politics, now finds his business empire under threat precisely because of politics. Some might say Canada went too far. That it should have targeted the U.S. administration directly, not a company used by thousands of ordinary Canadians. Others argue Canada had no choice. That in today's world, where CEOs make political decisions, governments must respond at the company level. So what's next? Behind the scenes, trade negotiators are scrambling. Both countries know this can't go on forever. Canadian officials have signaled they're open to restoring Tesla's rebate eligibility, but only if the U.S. lifts its tariffs first. Washington, for now, is holding firm. Trump has called Canada's actions an overreaction, but sources suggest some within the administration are worried about backlash from Musk and the broader business community. Elon Musk has stayed mostly quiet. No official press conference. No lawsuits filed yet. Some insiders believe he's waiting to see if the U.S. administration will defend him or leave Tesla to fend for itself. Others believe Musk may be planning a surprise countermove, perhaps lowering Tesla prices in Canada to win back consumers, or even threatening to pull investment from the country entirely. But the question remains, will any of that work? Canada's stance is popular domestically. Most Canadians support Freeland's decision. Polls show a rising wave of nationalist sentiment, with people demanding stronger economic independence and more accountability for foreign companies operating within the country. In the middle of all this are the consumers, people just trying to buy a car, save on fuel, reduce their emissions. For them, this conflict is frustrating and confusing. Some feel caught in the middle of a political chess match they never signed up for. And for the climate? That's another cost. Fewer EVs on the road means slower progress toward emissions targets. Musk has long claimed his mission is to save the planet through electrification. But now his political alignment is slowing that very mission in places like Canada. This situation is about more than policy, it's about identity. It's about how nations assert control in a world increasingly dominated by tech giants. It's about how businesses choose their political alliances and what the cost of those choices can be. Canada's message is clear: if you want to benefit from Canadian tax dollars, you must also respect Canadian sovereignty. And if you don't, you may find yourself and your empire on the outside looking in. This is no longer just about a rebate. It's a confrontation over values. Over influence, over the future of cross-border business in an increasingly fractured global economy. And Tesla, once the darling of green innovation, is now at the center of a geopolitical storm. We will continue to follow this developing story, because the consequences will not stop at Tesla. They will shape how countries negotiate trade, how companies navigate politics, and how consumers experience the electric revolution. Stay with us. Subscribe for more global stories on innovation, policy, and the power plays shaping our future.
Bye bye. Subscribe and like, please.